And so excited to have my friend Terry Hershey on with me, all the way from Vashon Island in Washington. He's an author, many, many books, The Power of Pause, Sanctuary, his latest book I've got right in front of me here, This is the Life. I can't think of a more perfect person actually for us to be gathering with in times of isolation and quarantine and talking about how do we have the power of pause and find sanctuary and realize that of all the things that are outside of our control in the world today, the things that are within our control, and that this is the life. So I'm interested, on Vashon Island, how are you handling quarantine and isolation?
I love it. well, because actually, this is how I live. I mean, I live this way. Now, obviously, I miss, I mean, church is out of the question. Going to the pub with my friends is out of the question, etc. There are those things you cannot do. And, and my son is quarantined in a different part of the state too. I mean, so living life on my garden without the need to be in a hurry to go anywhere is nothing but an absolute gift for me. So let me say this. This is interesting because you know what I do for a living, and I'll stand before a group. Let's just say I'm standing before groups, a company, and they have gathered 20 or 30 of their people. And I start with the question, this last week, so this go like 6 months ago, year ago, this last week, how many of you have felt distracted? How many hands go up? All of them.
All of them.
How many of you felt exhausted, in a hurry, worn out, overextended? Now, I say what's interesting is every single one of them said to me at that time, I would love to have a time in my life when I didn't feel those things. And now, here they do. And I'm not saying, the irony is that in the circumstances, very often there are gifts that we were not aware of prior to that. And so instead of talking about what I'm missing, I begin to talk about what I have that I have been hoping I had had for some time. It's just that because I wasn't paying attention, I don't see it when it's there.
Yeah. Where are you finding sanctuary right now? I know you always find sanctuary in your garden, but talk a little bit about your daily walk and also just other places where you are seeking sanctuary.
Yeah, because it's very important to me. The word intentional is a necessary word. You say whatever is honored will be cultivated. Mm-hmm. Well, honoring requires intention. In other words, it's a choice. I'm not going to get anywhere if I'm a victim of something. That doesn't help me at all. And which is not to say some people are in circumstances that they did not choose. I'm not talking about that. But if I want to be a certain kind of person, I need to say there are choices I can make and will make. And so making space is a big part of that. And the thing about making space, which is an interesting thing, is when you make the space, you give yourself the freedom to roam around in that space. And so every day I do that. Every day I walk. I do a walk for about an hour and a half in the morning around a pond not very far from where I live. It's all very rural here. And I pass by, my neighbor has a flock of sheep, and I stop and talk to the sheep because as a former clergy person, I need to have somebody to preach to. And so I can preach to the sheep. And so I was telling them the other day about our country wanted to return to normal, and they looked at me like, we never left normal, you know that, and it's like, what can you say to the sheep? So I talk with the sheep, and then I come home and I spend time writing, and I write, and I spend time gardening. And what I'm doing is noticing things. I take these questions with me because I designed this garden where I live now 20 years ago. And I'm always asking as I'm gardening, what did I notice today that I have never seen before? And to take pleasure in it, to actually take delight in it, to savor it. And then we do the same when it's happy hour. We go out on our patio and enjoy that. And then I ask myself, what are the ways that those gifts can be shared, even though it's through this medium, with people who are not feeling that now and just need the permission and the encouragement and the opportunity?
I love it. I can hear the voices, and I'm sure you have over the years in different organizations and executives and stuff. I can hear it because I have this conversation with teams and organizations all over the place, but I can hear the voice of the person, the high performing executive, salesperson, team leader, department head, fill in the blank. I can hear them say, yeah, I get this. We got to be intentional. We got to slow down, but man, we got to perform. And we've got results and we got numbers to hit. And I always welcome that conversation, because what I've found is that this discussion that we're having, for anybody out there that's listening, that if there was any part of you during that discussion or these thoughts that you started to go to the place that somehow this is separate from results in some way or performance, I would say, yes, different. But I love entering that conversation because I know this for myself and for my own life. My quote unquote results or my performance, I'm a better husband, a better father. I'm better at the work that I do in the world. I'm more productive and effective at any of my relationships with clients and organizations I serve when I'm finding time to step back, to find that power of pause, to be intentional, and that I'm, find that sanctuary. Because then, as you and I, you've been a guest at my Thermostat Cultures live event. We talk about that, because then from our own way we move throughout the world, we set a temperature for other people. And so, what's your response to somebody that says, "Yeah, this sounds great, but this isn't realistic. I got a job to do."
I would say, God bless you. But the truth is, if I'm responsible for having you do that job, I want you to be there. Like the little boy said to his mama, Mama, listen to me, but this time with your eyes. And so I would say to that individual who have results to do, I would say, God bless you. But that person, I was sitting with, I did a conference for hospice workers here in the state of Washington. Yeah. Back when we could do conferences not long ago. And it was about this subject. It was about taking care of yourself, self-care. And because speaking of results, they have to perform. And so they're asking themselves, since I have to do so much, how do I take time for me in order to do this? And I would say, I'll cut to the chase. I'm of a certain age now, and here's why I want self-care to be important to you. Because someday I will need one of you. And I want you to be there. I want you to be your best self. I want you to bring your whole self to the table. So in other words, those two things are not separate, so-called results from bringing my full self. In fact, what happens is, just to your point, is I realized I was measuring the wrong stuff.
And certainly my experience within teams and organizations, by the way, is we've seen their quote unquote numbers go up. With the things that they were trying to measure, those things can go up too, and yet so can their own development and their own being themselves and in their skin in the role that they play in the world. And oh, by the way, the culture of how they do the work together improves.
I hesitate to talk sports with you as an Ohio State person, and I'm a University of Michigan person, but I'm just saying, because as a golfer, you can tell when someone is only thinking about their swing because they're not free to really swing.
Yeah.
And at some point, they have got to let their obsessiveness down, just like that other thing about results. And I'm not even free to swing anymore.
I hope you'll check out terryhershey.com.